Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to spend a little time discussing part 2 of project 2. This section is all about space planning. So our challenge for part 2 of this project is to analyze the client's new needs for the space and to develop a minimum of 3 possible solutions using standard design process drawings and techniques. So this whole section is going to be taking the first floor of our Victorian house that Christina wants to remodel, analyzing it and coming up with a variety of different space planning solutions to move forward. So we'll be applying design drawing skills and techniques directly to an interior design project. We'll be analyzing the client's needs and the building conditions and constraints. We'll be applying space planning techniques to complex design problems. And we'll be exploring and generating multiple space planning solutions for structural layouts. So first thing we want to do is think about Christina's personal space, the main house and what we need there. And then we'll think about the rental units, the Airbnb space. So first, the main house, Christina's space. That's really referring to the master bedroom suite first, primarily, and then also the kitchen, the living room, and the dining room. So if we take a look at this space, and we'll open it up in the AutoCAD file here, okay, you'll see this is the floor plan of the entire first floor of this house. So zooming in, we'll see here in the front, this is the original entrance of the building, okay? And if we just sort of take a tour to sort of locate some of those areas, what we're looking at, we'll see here is the original entrance with the front porch wrapping around, okay? And then in the front of the home, as it is right now, we have the living room here on the left side of the screen with an original fireplace. In the center of the building, we have the large hallway and foyer. And then as we move kind of on the left, we have the dining room and the kitchen, so sort of located in the back. And then back here, we're going to see Christina's master bedroom suite. So her master bedroom, closet, master bath with another lanai, a porch on the back. Okay, and then back here in this area of the home, there's also a private entrance in the rear of the building. So a private entrance, you can come in here. You'll see that there's a pantry just off the kitchen, and then you can make your way here into the kitchen and into this space. As we sort of zoom in like that, you can see there's a series of pocket doors throughout the building that can open up, the spaces or sort of close them off as needed. All of those pocket doors are original to the building, so it'd be great if you can keep them, or at least many of them. Okay, then if we sort of zoom back out, if you look towards the right side of the building, this area over here on the right is where a majority of the remodeling happened that's referenced in the project, the remodeling in the 90s. In which Christina converted a portion of the first floor of this house into her physical therapy space. So at that time, to accommodate her client's needs and to comply with ADA, this ramp here was added on the side. So there's a ramp that runs along on the right side of the floor plan here, along the porch, okay? And that gives us a public entrance that's ADA accessible over here. Then on this side, we see rooms that were converted. So we have a study here in the front, Christina's office, and then towards the back of that public space, we have her workout space where, clients could use treadmills and exercise bikes, things like that. Physical therapy space. And then in here, you'll see there's also an ADA accessible bathroom that exists, as is right now. A storage closet. And then an additional restroom here. So there's actually 3 restrooms in the space right now. Okay, and then again, Christina's personal bedroom suite is back here. Okay, while you're looking at this floor plan, you're going to see a bunch of information, including measurements near the windows and then in the rooms. So the measurements that you're given give you the general kind of size of each space and room, although you're going to be able to measure whatever you need to. And then you'll see that all of the windows, for the most part, have specific measurements. These are important. So for example, in this sort of bay window here in the front, we have windows that are 34 inches wide by 72 inches high. Over here we have a bank of windows that's 28 inches wide by 48 inches high. So this will, affect if you can put, countertops or seating below them or not. So that's all about the window sizes. The rest of the information associated in this file that you should be aware of can be found up here on the general notes. So looking here, we'll see that all ceilings are 9 feet 0 inches at finish face. All windows have a header height of 84 inches at finished face unless noted. So all of the windows are at the exact same height at the top. So if they're shorter, that means they're higher off the ground, higher off the floor. All windows are 28 inches wide by 64 inches high with a header height of 84 inches unless noted. So any windows that don't have a label are 28 by 64. All windows are double hung style windows unless noted. All finished trim and built-in casework is in walnut. The exterior doors are all 36 inches wide by 84 inches tall, as well as the interior doors, and the interior doors are raised 3-panel walnut wood. All base, so all the baseboard running throughout the space is 8 inches wide by 3/4 inch thick. All of the windows and door casing is 5 inches wide with a backband detail. The original decorative crown molding is in the hall, foyer, dining room, living room, kitchen, and study. All exterior walls are 8 inches wide, and all interior walls are 5 inches wide. Okay, so that information is going to be really important as you think about the space, the character of the rooms, size of windows, doors, and all of that. So please take note of that and analyze this plan, as you start this portion of the project. Okay. So just kind of looking at this real quick, what notes are we seeing here? So the master bedroom suite is, again, Christina's most personal space. So we're definitely going to need all new fixtures, furniture, materials. It will be possible to keep the walls or layout the same if you'd like. If you'd like her master bedroom suite to remain where it is, you can. But you can also relocate it if you'd prefer. The kitchen will need all new cabinets, finishes, fixtures, appliances, furniture pieces, whatever it might be. And it's optimal for the kitchen to stay in the same general location or area, just for cost purposes. That's where the plumbing is and all that. But, it can be relocated. If you come up with a really great space plan and you want to relocate it, you could do that. Concerning the living room, we'll be looking for all new furniture, finishes, etc. We'll be thinking about the walls most likely remaining the same, but again can be altered if needed. The fireplace location must stay the same. It doesn't have to be in what's considered the living room if the living room moves. But we really like to think about keeping a lot of those interior walls intact if possible, but again, they can be altered. In the dining room, new furniture, new finishes, again, and again, the walls can remain the same and they can be altered, so that's sort of up to you and how you want to reconfigure these spaces. So the guests in the house will have access to the kitchen, living room, dining room, and hallway areas. So we really think about these as being semi-public spaces when all of the rental units are full. These rooms need to function well for Christina. She's the homeowner. She's the primary user, but we also want these spaces to be practical for small groups and multiple users. So despite Christina, using her home for business, she is a very private person, and she would like to maintain some separation between her master suite and the guest rooms if it's possible, just so she can feel like she still has her personal space in her own home. So then concerning those Airbnb rental units, the more public space, in terms of quantity, Christine would like 3 individual rental units. At least one must have its own ADA accessible bathroom, and at least one must be barrier free. At least one of these units should be a suite, and that means to include a kitchenette, the little refrigerator, sink, microwave, few cabinets, and an eating area. This can be very small, with a little lounge area, and possibly be set up, think about maybe a longer term rental, more than just a day or two. The 2 smaller units can have, a small refrigerator, microwave, all of that kind of stuff is all possible, right? Kind of thinking about standard hotel amenities, but just the one must have that small kitchenette. Each unit must have clothing storage, both folded and hanging. Each unit must have its own theme, including color scheme, furnishings, materials. So kind of, get that concept kind of going. The rooms will all coordinate with each other, but they'll have their own unique feel. And, as you're thinking about this project, keep in mind that this isn't a chain hotel and we don't want all identical rooms. So, Christina wants this to be, unique and special and someplace really charming for her guests. So the first thing we need to do is dive into this space planning. So you're going to evaluate that existing plan. You'll have the PDF and that CAD file, and study what can be done to address the new needs of the first floor. So rooms will need to be reconfigured to allow for the building's new use, transitioning from a mixed-use building that supported a physical therapy business to one that functions as a tourist destination focusing on hospitality. This design must work well for both guests of the house as well as Christina for years to come. So step 1 for this portion of the project, you're going to create an adjacency matrix for the following spaces to determine the best space planning conditions. So here's a list of all of the required spaces, thinking about the entrance, the ADA entrance, a foyer, hallway, living room, dining room, kitchen, so on and so forth. They're all listed here, as well as, there could be additional space or room that you think this project needs. And as you're analyzing and working on the space, you may come up with other ideas that you think are important. Maybe you want to have a separate public restroom, a laundry room, I don't know, if anything like that, a business center, whatever you think is appropriate, and you're welcome to add that. So as you're creating this adjacency matrix, what might that look like? Just take a look at a few examples. Okay, so the adjacency matrix is, a very basic chart in which we list out all of the possible rooms and then determine what that relationship might be like. Adjacency matrices have many different looks. So the ones that I'm showing you for this project are kind of the most basic way that they can look, and it's a good way to start. So you can either do this by hand, or you can do this, in a piece of software, whatever you like to do. And so essentially, you will make a rectangle with a 45-degree arrow on the end, and then you will connect these lines all the way down, right? And all the way this way. And you'll basically make that grid that's turned at a 45-degree angle. And then for each of those, you'll determine what do you think that relationship wants to be. So you'll make yourself a chart, a circle that's filled in for desirable adjacency, an open one for semi-desirable, and a line can be undesirable. Again, these can have many different looks. That's, and if you want to get creative or explore different options, you can, but this very simple way to approach it is fine. And then what you'll do is go for each connection, and you'll see I have a few examples here. And this is a little bit subjective. Your opinion on what's desirable, what's semi-desirable, what's undesirable, that might change a little bit from person to person, and that's okay. But so as you go through, you'll say, okay, we have the original entrance and this person has the porch here, okay. That would be desirable. That makes sense, right? We're not going to be able to get through that door without that. Let's see, do we want, I'll just pick another one. Let's see, the kitchen and the dining room. You follow this line here and here. Yes, that's considered desirable. What about the kitchen and the foyer? So I'll follow the kitchen line up and then follow to the foyer here, if you can see that. That's not considered desirable to this person. So it's just your way of kind of figuring out what spaces would you ideally like near each other, which spaces are kind of okay, and what would you really like to keep apart. This is just you kind of figuring that out, and there's not necessarily one right or wrong answer. So kind of analyze it and think, what spaces do you really want to try to group together as you work. Okay, then after you create this matrix, you're going to go into step 2 here and do your space planning sketches. So you're going to do 3 bubble diagrams, 3 block diagrams, and 3 loose floor plans. And so those will kind of act as sets. So a bubble, a block, and a floor plan, a bubble, a block, and a floor plan, a bubble, a block, and a floor plan. Okay, so the bubble diagram is going to show connections and circulation with lines, arrows of different sizes, line weights, etc. Okay, then we're going to kind of straighten out those walls, if you will, and start to kind of define rooms and hallways. Again, showing connections, circulations with lines and arrows. And then finally, show some loose floor plans with some basic door openings and other architectural details. Okay, so just to see a few examples of that, we'll go back here, and these are all up on Canvas. Okay, so after this person created their matrix, okay, they went in and then started doing a variety of bubble diagrams. Here's just a quick example of their bubble diagram. And this is done by hand, using a circle template and some colored pencils and markers. So you can go by hand or, an Illustrator, something like that. It's totally up to you. So with the bubble diagrams, no matter how you choose to do it, what you want to do is create a bubble for each space. And it's ideal if the bubbles are proportional to each other, so the bigger the room, the bigger the bubble, the smaller the room, the smaller the bubble. And then we want to show how they connect, how they relate to each other. And this person actually said, okay, I want to think about this in terms of social zone, work zone, private zone, storage. And that's a great technique. And there's a lot of different approaches that you'll see. So this person, they have their large living room, large dining room, slightly smaller kitchen, and kind of figures that all out with their rental units, right? And how the space works. So we have the original entrance here, nice big arrow shows coming in. Here's the foyer. It's all open with this dotted line, okay? And you'll see the foyer then is connecting through the hallway and also the living room. Okay, and we also see, the rental unit 1 is kind of off that foyer area as well. Okay, and as we make our way through, we can start to determine, okay, so the master bedroom, okay, we can get here, and you can kind of start to determine how this all relates, where the various entrances are, and how the space might flow. After that bubble diagram, then we can go in, and if you'd like, you can actually do a refined bubble diagram as well. I didn't make that part of this assignment, but it's kind of a way you can start to fit it in to the building floor plan here and start to figure out how these all might kind of fit together. And then we actually have the block plan. So the block plan is really where we're going to start figuring out how these rooms might start to fit in the footprint of our building. So, fitting in our kind of square, rectilinear types of rooms and what those circulation paths will be. So how you'll get from one space to another and how strong those connections are, right? And so we have the entrances marked, our circulation paths, the rooms that connect to each other. And you'll notice we're not seeing any furniture, any doorways, nothing like that, nothing specific yet, just working out where the rooms will land and where the corridors will be. And then finally with the loose floor plan, that's when you'll start to indicate, okay, here's where some doorways are, still maintaining those connections and things like that. So this plan does not have much in terms of the plumbing or anything like that, but it's still a good example of kind of that flow from one type of design process drawing to another. If you look at this person's, here's the matrix that they started out with, and then they're going from their bubble diagram to a refined. Again, you don't have to do the refined this year, but I think it can be kind of nice to see. So again, done by hand, on tracing paper actually. So various sizes in proportion for the bubbles, showing the entrances, the prominence of the circulation paths. So the circulation is very bold from either the front door in this person's example or the public entrance. And then we have smaller circulation indicated, off this corridor into rental unit 1, off this corridor into the living room, into rental unit 2. So I can see that this hallway, I can, make my way into just about every room as I make my way through the space, right? And then turning that into a block diagram, getting that to fit inside the building, and kind of figuring out how these spaces might start to fit with each other, relate to each other, where the corridors might be. So here we're actually lacking showing those circulation paths again, but at least you sort of get the sense. So, none of these are perfect, but they're good examples at showing different things. Okay, and then here we have a loose floor plan, missing the arrows a little bit, but, getting into showing, okay, I see some plumbing fixtures in here, right? I can kind of see what the person is thinking a little bit, showing a few pieces of furniture just to give us a sense of scale. So all drawn by hand, all working on top of that floor plan, but kind of giving us a sense of what the space layout might feel like. And just one more example, just shows a different look, a different approach. So here's the adjacency matrix this person started out with, all done, I think, in Illustrator, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, and then this person, just used their tablet or iPad or whatever to draw out their bubble diagrams, which is perfectly fine, and showing the relationship of spaces, the scale, and the traffic, right? So it's just conceptual. The bubble diagram is all conceptual, but how these spaces might relate. Okay, then they refine their bubble. Again, you don't have to do this, but you can if you'd like. Just starting to fit it into that floor plan. And then starting to block these spaces out. And they actually chose to kind of give some door openings here. They had a little bit different technique, but figuring out where the rooms are all going to fit, how they're all going to work with each other. And then a nice loose floor plan, noticing that color coding is maintaining from the bubble to the block to the loose plan, which is really great. It helps you define the different spaces and maintain that thought, right? Including some, small pieces of furniture, plumbing fixtures, just to give us a sense of scale. It's not that you're locked into those layouts, but it gives the viewer an idea of what your space might look like. So these are pulled from different drawings from different assignments and things, but they give you a good idea. So in terms of how you're going to lay that out, what I'd recommend doing is tightening that up on your 11 by 17 inch page, and just doing maybe about 5 pages here. So your first page will be your cover page, and then your second page will have your adjacency matrix on it, right? And then you can do one 11 by 17 page if you'd like and put your bubble diagram, block diagram, and loose floor plan all in one for space plan concept 1. Then you can put all 3 drawings for space plan concept 2 and space plan concept 3, right? So you can keep the drawings kind of smaller and put them right next to each other, and then we can easily see how your bubble diagram translates into your block diagram into your loose floor plan, right? So you'll have 3 distinct layouts and different space planning ideas, but just one adjacency matrix for this project. Okay, so you can use Illustrator, you can use whatever piece of software you might like to use. You can draw this all by hand and then scan it in and clean it up in Photoshop or whatever you'd like to do. Your process is completely up to you. Graphics count, so you want to be thoughtful about line weights, lettering, font, composition, color, all of that. Definitely use color. And please remember that these are loose drawings. So, these are conceptual. You're trying to figure out how you want to lay out the space before we move on to the next part of the project. So, things don't have to be perfect. They can have kind of a loose hand-drawn look. That's completely fine. So, kind of keep things light at this point. And then you'll see, just here, grading rubric, looking, so, like what each section will be worth and all of that. So this is a really exciting part of the project because now we actually get to go in, start looking at that floor plan, start looking at the space and deciding how we actually want to lay it all out before we actually get into some of the detailed design work.